Greetings, BlazeLee Dragon here, and today I have for you a part 2 to Intro to Magic. Now, you might notice I'm wearing a robe, and I did this intentionally for a couple purposes. First and foremost, when people think of ritual robes, they think of something like this. Well, it's not a ritual robe. Well, I guess you could use it for one, but it's very impractical. You ever try to light a candle or go over a bonfire with a long sleeve like this? You got to keep pulling your sleeves up. This is actually a crushed velvet robe that I had made for me, which is kind of fun. This here is actually a Renaissance vest with leather. It's like a warrior's vest that I got from the Renaissance Festival. You don't need to wear this to do magic. In fact, I have this because I like period garb. In general, I do reenactment, among other things. So you don't need this for rituals. However, there are individuals out there who like to wear stuff like this. First and foremost, why do people wear stuff like this? Well, the hood is all dark. Yeah, I know. Can't see much, can you? It's all dark, and it kind of takes away some of the sound. So you take away the light distraction if you got a thick enough hood, and you take away the sound distraction. It's for focusing. That, and back then people wore hoods and cloaks. That's what they had back in that period. People like to mimic what they know of the old days, so they try to do it in today's time. This here is actually, if you like this, you think this is kind of cool looking, it's actually the Sith robe from Star Wars. It's that pattern, and it's just kind of neat. This kind of adds something to this, just for fun. So, do I wear this for ritual? No. I've worn it during Samhain before because I will wear it for part of costume. I think I've worn the robe by itself without the leather vest for one of the hand fastings I did once. This, of course, just has to do with what you want to do. I've done hand fastings in a suit before, too. Yeah, so here's the robe. Now, so what do you wear during a ritual? Personally, I wear this. Doesn't have to be black. I'll get into that in a minute, too. This is simply a black t-shirt, and these are pajama bottoms. Very loose, very comfy. And I am barefoot because I like being barefoot. I don't like shoes. I bring this up beginning of this because I'm also going to be talking about ritual tools in this one. And I would just want you to be aware that you don't have a particular outfit or clothes you need to wear. Actually, some people do it sky-clad, which is naked, which I'm not going to demonstrate for 3 reasons. Well, I guess 2 reasons. The first reason is I'm uncomfortable in sky-clad. The second reason is I don't practice in sky-clad. And I guess if you want to say a third reason is for some of you may want to see that, others of you may not. Would make it slightly inappropriate for YouTube. So we're going to leave that out. Now, I'm going to get out some ritual tools here in a minute, but to start with, I'm going to sit down and talk a little bit about robes and clothing and things like that. Why people wear that kind of stuff. Well, as I had mentioned, yeah, people wear it for the concentration purposes. You know, the hood, the robe, it's good stuff. They also wear it to get into the mindset. When you're going to do ritual, ceremonial magic, high magic, whatever type of magic you're going to do, if you're going to do a spell, then you want to get into that mindset. So if you feel more comfortable naked, you feel more comfortable wearing robes, you want to dress in garb, you want to wear normal clothes today, you want to wear fancy business type of suit, whatever you're comfortable in. A lot of traditions, like the Druids, there's different ranks with Druidry, and it depends on how far back you go. If you go to the one tradition that started back in 1719, it's the Neo-Druids, the Revival. They've got 3 different levels of Druidry, and each one of them had different color robes. Historically speaking, further back, I don't know if they do it in today's order or not. Today's order actually all wears white robes. Back in the olden days, they had green robes, blue robes, and white robes based upon which rank they were in Druidry. Some of them would wear red, blue, yellow. There's no right or wrong. You wear what you're comfortable in. Your coven might have a particular color or style that they wear. So robes were very popular in the past. They're still popular today. A lot of priests wear them. A lot of monks wear them. So to get into the mindset and to kind of be there, you might consider wearing classical garb. Like I said, I have mine for reenactment purposes and costume, but it's perfectly acceptable to wear something like that, and a lot of people do. You don't have to, though. Just wear street clothes. Wear something. What I'm wearing right now, the t-shirt and the pajama bottoms, is comfortable. I am very comfortable being barefoot, even walking outside wearing this outfit. That's the point. Get something you're comfortable in. You want to be most relaxed that you can be. That's also, you go into further with different stage-altering, mind-altering type of stages through meditation, things like that. So that, I just wanted to show you classically what you expect someone to wear, and then what other people wear. Now I wear black because it's a very slimming color. I've always been fond of it. I also like red a lot, blue and green. It just depends on the mood I'm in, but for the most part I'll wear black. Black is also symbolic of mysteries or the unknown. You think of space, infinity, black, it's darkness. It absorbs all light. It is part of all things, where white reflects it and is more of like a protective thought, but this absorbs and takes in all light and keeps it because it's part of that hidden mystery, that deeper self. So there's reasons to wear black. Stereotypically, a lot of people are, oh, if you practice the old ways, which is what I call them, if you practice the old ways, then, you're going to be Gothic. You don't have to be Gothic. It's actually, some people are Gothic beforehand. A lot of people that I know are not Gothic at all. They don't wear garb. They don't wear Gothic jewelry or black lipstick or any of that stuff. So get away from the preconceived notions. The whole dress and everything like that, it's all about being comfortable, kind of like choosing the path that works for you. So I'm going to stop the video and then restart it when I actually get out a few ritual tools, and we'll talk about some of ritual tools, what are used, and why you don't need them. Some people will insist that you need them. Okay, this is that coat I was telling you I wore. It's part of my suit. I've got suit pants underneath that I'll also wear for hand fasting ceremonies. It actually comes down to my knees, which is kind of cool. And this is the shirt I wear underneath it. It's just a button-up. And I've got a bow tie that I wear with it for when I do that kind of stuff, for, like I said, hand fastings. Just something kind of professional. So it doesn't really matter what you wear. So I brought you upstairs where I keep some of my stuff. No, I'm not going to show you my altar, don't ask. Some people love to show off their altar. I think it's kind of personal, and I don't see the purpose in sharing that. So if other people want to show it, awesome. You don't need an altar. An altar is just a place to put some of your stuff for your workings. You don't even need stuff for your workings. That's just some of your stuff you do. Sorry, clearing some room. I also make chainmail. Kind of cool. Fun stuff. Anyway, so let's talk about some of the ritual tools. Something I want to mention is a lot of people talk about a book of shadows. I'm sure you've heard of that. And that's basically just a journal, a log of your spiritual practices. A notepad works just fine. You don't even need to call it a book of shadows. You don't need to call it a grimoire. You can keep notes on your computer. It's just nice to refer back to some of your teachings, whether they're from other people or from yourself. This is actually something I use. It is a leather-bound book that has a dragon button. This was actually made out of clay and then bronzed. This was handcrafted by an Italian booksmith, and it's kind of neat. It folds open, and it's all recycled paper, which is kind of neat too. So you can get fancy like this, or you can do a spiral-bound notebook, or like I said, keep notes, period. This is for any path. I don't care if you're a Christian. There's nothing wrong with keeping notes for Christianity, etc. as well. So let me put this back. Alright. So, you hear a lot of people talk about water. Cups hold water. It is symbolic of feminicity, reproductive. It's like woman's vagina. It accepts. And when you think of water, you think of the properties of water. Healing, You know, it's always finding equilibrium, it's cleansing. All life is water-based as far as, you know, we are mostly water. Water is a very healing element, it's a feminine element, and when people are including this in their ritual, spellcraft, etc., they are usually doing this for purposes that are associated with its properties. Keep that in mind as well. I'm just going to briefly talk about these. I'll go into more details on each one later and things that you can do. I'm also going to show you in these intros to magic how to craft and customize your own stuff. And any person you talk to, whether it's me or anyone, they could probably talk your ear off for years. And it's best to find a teacher to learn methods, because as far as specialized methods of how to use things like this, it's going to be individual, and it should be. So learn not word for word. Don't find a spell from someone and do word for word how they do it and exactly ingredients as they do it. Find it for you, make it work for you, and those are going to be more effective. So as far as the element of water, chalice, bowl, seashell, something that can hold water. Air, intelligence, wand, staff, whatever. These are tools that are meant for purposes of directing energy. And the staff has always been a symbol of intelligence and wisdom. The scepter, the rod, it's like a phallus, it's masculine, it's male energy. Fire. Brought out a whole bunch of knives. I collect knives too. And you don't have to have a specific thing. A lot of people will call these athames, you can call them knives, whatever. This is something kind of fancy, a Damascus blade. It's kind of long. This here's got fancy eagle on the end, and it has claws for the crossguard. And this is like an Indian dagger, kind of jeweled. That's a marker on the blade. I got it from someone, and they had decorated the blade red. This is kind of a neat one, nice and plain. This is a dirk, a Scottish dirk. I got this way back when, and then all of a sudden I started seeing these appear on all of these pagan catalogs with little talismans taped to them and welded to them, and I don't understand why, but apparently that's something popular to do. These are getting real popular. They're small, lightweight, inexpensive. And then of course the Boleen. Now the whole fire thing is about change. It's also masculine and, you know, element, and the blade usually symbolizes it because it's a symbol of change. When you cut something, you're permanently changing it. You know, you're slicing it, and the blade is forged through fire. So that's usually why you'll have a blade associated with that element. And then for earth, you'll have people that have pentacle discs, you know, and the reason that they do that is because they're talking about a balance or a grounding of all 5 elements, which is related to earth. There's also people who will use a stone or metal for earth. So this is just kind of like a little brief example of things that you can use. Obviously, these are not necessarily stuff that I use specifically for those purposes. And like I said, I'm going to go into more details about each individual element and more specifics later, but I also want to talk about the fact that you don't have to have these tools, any of them. In fact, a lot of these, as you noticed, are covered in dust. Some of these are just things that I collect in general. It's just people have this insistence on using those, and you really, all you need is yourself and your will to do any form of magic. When you are going to use the assistance of an element to assist it along, then you have to consider which element would be the most to help you, which one of these ritual tools would help you to focus your intent. There's also the fact that you hear about 5 elements, and a lot of people will talk about spirit or akasha, they'll talk about fire, they'll talk about earth, they'll talk about air, and they'll talk about water. That's just one example of 5 elements. If you go over to the east, the Shaolin 5 elements, or the Taoist 5 elements, you have earth, you have wood, you have metal, you have fire, and you have water. If you go over to Japan, the ninja have a different 5 elements. They have gold, they have air, they have fire, they have water, and they have the void. So I mean, each group that you speak to has different elements that they use. Actually, I think shadow is one of the 5 for ninja. Shadow and the void, I think, are kind of interchangeable. So my point behind this is everybody has their own interpretation of things, and that whole standard stereotypical 5 elements, each one going to a different direction, and there are different tips of the pentagram. If you're training in that tradition, fine. If it feels right, fine. Don't act like that's the only way to do things, because it's not. And I would like you, as a viewer, to know that. So when you are doing a spell or ritual, or a ceremony, you want to customize it, as I was saying. You don't want to follow somebody else's recipe. The reason that is because all of these things are for sake of focusing. You know, when you have stuff like a wand, the wood that it is made out of plays an effect. The size, the length, the comfort in your hand, the energies you have put into it by enchanting or loading, which I've mentioned in part 1, enchanting and loading is one method you can do to help with the vibrations. Well, it's going to have its own life, it's going to have its own vibration, and the wood that it's made out of, or symbols you put upon it, or stones you glue to it or put inside of it, this is all going to affect it. And this is something to consider when you're doing spellcraft as well. What are you putting into that? What are you trying to enhance? What different herbs, colors, tools are you using to help you direct focusing forces and energy to bring about the means of that spell? So just, you know, something to keep in mind there. Now, as I was mentioning, like, we would talk about some of the elements. There's different ways to use different elements, and the main 4 that I've mentioned, yourself usually is representing of spirit. That's why you don't have a tool for that. You'll notice a lot of people don't, and that's because you have elemental tools, and then you have yourself, and that completes the pentagram, the 5 points, and that's what helps to bring magic into being. Now, what you're trying to do, you want to think about the properties of that element. If you want change, fire. You know, if you want healing, water. If you want stability and protection, earth. If you want intelligence or awareness or type of divination, air. I mean, these are just examples. Don't write this stuff down. Don't go back to this video like, oh, well, this is what I need to do. What does it feel to you? What do you get out of it when you think of that element? You know, and if you're doing stuff, and that's another thing I want to mention too, you have all these people that mention, you know, well, Athame for fire and wands for air, just like I just said. That doesn't mean that's what you have to do. That doesn't mean you only pull out your wand for that purpose. If you are doing some sort of enchanting or protection or healing or anything, you can grab your wand for any of that. You can grab your Athame for any of that. It's for directing and focusing energy. Your staff can help connect with the ground, above, below, and you holding on to that connection and being one with all things. There's a reason behind the staff as well. I'm going to make an entire video on that. So just keep these things in mind. Now, the next couple of intros that I'm going to do are probably going to break down each of the different aspects of creating a spell and the reason that you don't need that particular aspect, because I want to be very, very firm on that. I want you to realize that you are not stuck with one way of doing things. This is about instinct. This is about nature. This is about learning your own inner nature and learning how to interact with the world around you. So this is BlazeLee Dragon, and hopefully you've enjoyed watching.